We are happy for Dak, so very happy. Let's get that out of the way, buddy.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we love Dak as a guy, as a leader. The Cowboys notwithstanding, Dak Prescott is the right guy for that job. The question was, what is he worth? And he was asking for $40 million a year. And last year, you're like, I don't see you making $40 million a year. There's only two guys that are even close to that.
Yeah.
And one's not even there, really. Talking about Deshaun Watson, he's at $39 million per year. Pat Mahomes, he's the clear outlier. He's the man. $45 million a year for 10 years and a $500 million contract. That seemed like it was worth it for the MVP and the Super Bowl MVP as well. But for Dak Prescott, I'm not so sure that was the case. But as we know, as always is the case with athletes, go get your money, dude.
Yep.
And if you can get it and they're going to give it to you, whether it's right for them or ultimately a mistake, get your money, dude. I'm not mad at him for anything at all, other than when I look at the Dallas Cowboys as a whole. And this is where we ultimately got to yesterday, BT. It feels great. Dak Prescott got paid. He deserved to get paid because that's what quarterbacks do. If you're a starter for multiple years, you're going to get paid. But now they have nothing around, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, they're going to be fine. They're going to score points, just like they did last year.
Yep.
In the 5 games that he played, they only won one of those games. So it tells you something about being heavy on one side of the ball as opposed to the other.
And by the way, Teague, this is going to be the last year that now football's year to year anyway, but there's no way that we see, in my opinion, I would imagine you would agree, we're not going to see Amari Cooper and Zeke Elliott next year, for the 2022 season. This is probably their last in terms of an offense, and that O-line's got some attrition. They've got to settle up some finances in different areas, and they're going to try to restructure with Zeke, and we'll see what shakes out with Amari Cooper moving forward. Not for this year, again, for next year.
Yep.
But it paints a relatively bleak financial picture if there's no middle ground, if there's no acceptable resolution, both from the player's point of view and one that's obviously advantageous to the team, because, you and I were throwing around some numbers yesterday, and I know that stats sell and highlights sell, and nobody's sitting around dissecting somebody's nickel defense when you have 4 beers at your fantasy football draft.
That's right.
You're talking about quarterbacks and running backs and wideouts and tight ends, but the Dallas Cowboys defense was deplorably bad. They gave up 27 passing touchdowns, by far the most in the NFL. So they're going to have to start shaving away some funds this iteration moving forward. And by the way, I would be mildly surprised, but I wouldn't be stunned if Amari Cooper somehow is either restructured now or not on the team next season.
Yeah.
They got CD, they got Gallup.
They're over the cap. I mean, if
$4 million over right now.
Are we going to be surprised when, I don't know, Amari Cooper's playing for the New York Giants? You know what I mean? No,
hey, put him on the Jets at least.
That's in a division. So that's definitely not going to happen. But if he's somewhere else, would you be surprised?
No.
I wouldn't at all. Because they got to start making some hard decisions. And so as good as this feels with Dak Prescott yesterday, it didn't help. I mean, it helped them significantly because they were – $20 million over the cap. Now they're only $4 million over the cap.
15, they said.
Yep. They still have a lot of work to do in order to put a viable, potentially championship product on the field. We also hit that yesterday. Can Dak lead them to a championship? The answer is yes. I mean, he's been a really good quarterback in this league. The reason they're losing is not on their quarterback. It's on the other things that have gone wrong with this franchise. From coaching to defense.
But I agree with that. But I would push back a little bit. I'm not going to get on the air and say that Dak can't win a championship. I'm much more pro Dak than anti Dak. But I'd have to see the situation. If he's slinging arrows against Mahomes in the Super Bowl or Brady in the NFC Championship game this year, or maybe even I don't know that we've against a good defense and a quality offense. I don't know that we've seen that yet from Dak.
We don't know how he's going to react on the championship stage, or the playoff stage that ultimately gets you to a championship. But I don't know. This is why you pay the guy. You got to have some level of faith that he's going to be okay on that stage. And I think he will, be honest with you. He's just got to get there, and he's got to have some more experience and more growth. And as long as that is happening, and, Mike McCarthy's not messing it up in any way, the relationship like he did with Aaron Rodgers, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress, but he got paid, and he deserved it.
No question. So the other aspect is Jerry got played. Jerry got absolutely housed. I mean, if Jerry was in a casino, the pit boss would say, Jerry, no, honestly, please stay. Really, no, we'll get you the helicopter. We'll give you the room. We'll give you a couple steaks, whatever you need. You'll find us brandy. No, Jerry, stay a few more hours. Because if this was a casino, Jerry went home busted.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, Dak won this.
Busted by a lot.
Yes.
The number is it's just astronomical when you hear it in real time. The $106 million that he's going to make last year and this year with the signing bonus, the salary, and last year's franchise tag. $106 million over 2 years.
Is that it?
For a guy you didn't even want, really. I mean, I guess
know.
obviously you did want him because you ultimately paid him. But still,
Yep.
you held out, so maybe we can pay him less. Maybe you're going to take that hometown. No, not even hometown. You're going to take that Dallas Cowboy discount because of the star and the marketability and the off-field nonsense, yada, yada. You got played bad, man.
He did.
I mean, that's $53 million a year for the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, not only that, but not only did he get played, which is obvious, but he got played to a point where he is now a historical footnote.
Yes.
Because every benchmark is a record.
Yes.
And now, obviously, somebody's going to exceed that, and we'll get to that coming up in a moment. Could be Lamar, could be Josh Allen, but probably won't be Baker, but we'll get Baker into that conversation. It's a record $66 million signing bonus, $75 million total fully guaranteed for year one, also $95 million fully guaranteed for year two. That also is a record. So not only did Jerry get just abused at the negotiating table, he got abused to the point where there are, big bullet points, where Dak did this clearly to a degree that nobody saw coming. But let's push it forward a little bit here. Just wanted to briefly reset it to give you guys a chance to get caught up with what Tiki and I spoke about yesterday. What does this now do? Because we've seen, and the old adage is, well, you're only going to be the highest paid quarterback for a little bit because when somebody's up next, they're going to jump over you. But there's a few interesting quarterbacks coming up. Josh Allen, who seems to be an emerging superstar. Lamar Jackson, who on some level is going backwards throwing the ball, and that's provable. And Baker Mayfield, who's not nearly as dynamic as either and never will be, but elevated a franchise that never wins. So those are the next three guys up. And then down the road, Kyler Murray, et cetera. But what do you think this does in terms of an impact for some of those players I just mentioned? Well,
I think what we're also finding, like what you said is true. It's whoever's next is going to get the next highest paid deal. And I think that fact may still hold, but I think how the structure is going to be different. And I think all you have to do is look at Pat Mahomes' deal versus Dak Prescott's deal. Pat Mahomes is there for a decade. And yes, his first 4 years of his deal, they pale. I mean, literally pale in comparison to the 4 years of Dak's deal because it's so team friendly. But with that money or that potential future leverage, Patrick Mahomes really becomes the icon of this team. He becomes almost not an owner, but kind of like an owner of the team. He's so ingrained because he has a 10-year contract. Now, there's outs in there, but it's a 10-year deal. You never see that, ever.
Unless you're John Gruden.
Yes, but I'm talking about from a player standpoint.
I got you.
You certainly don't see it from coaches. No. Very rarely do you see. Never do you see it from players. And so it worked for him. Just like this 4-year deal that Dak got. That's what he wanted. That's all he wanted. He didn't want a 5-year deal. He didn't want to say, "Give me security so I can do whatever. In 6 years I don't have to worry." He didn't want that. He's like, "I want to make." I want 4 years, and in 4 years, when I'm 31 or 32 years old, I'm going to break you off again, right? So Dak wants the quick hits. Now, that's, in a sense, is a risk, right? And so what it shows me is that teams are going to do what's right for their player and themselves. And so I look at some of those names that you threw out. Baker Mayfield, could he grow into be a consistent, steady star for the Cleveland Browns? The answer is maybe yes. I'm going to tend to say yes.
I would agree with that. I would lean more yes, not definitive, but I lean a little more yes. I'm with you.
But how much for how long are you saying yes? Right? And so for Baker, I feel like when he comes up, his contract's going to be shorter. It's not going to be like an 8-year deal. Lamar Jackson, because of the injury issue, it's going to be shorter. So it may look a lot like Dak's. Immediate pay, rewards you for some past performance, that MVP that you have, and this, short-term success window that we know that you're going to still be viable in. It'll be a shorter deal. You get to a guy like Josh Allen, though, who seems to be built strong, pillar of the community.
Yep.
I could see Josh Allen getting an 8 to 10 year deal, to be honest with you, because the precedent is now there. It probably won't be as lucrative at Pat Mahomes, but I could see him getting a deal that's stupid long, because he feels like he's the Jim Kelly. Like, be there for your whole career. We're going to have no doubt in you. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to get better. So I think at the end of the day, the individuality of these quarterback deals are becoming in vogue, as opposed to, well, you just tack on a couple, extra $1 million from the guy who got the year before.
Especially for the It's funny because 2 of the 3 franchise Ravens have always been steady.
Yep.
The Browns have always been a mess, and the Bills have, for the most part, this century been a mess. Really going back to the miracle against Tennessee with Frank Wycheck with the lateral. That was that crazy play. That was against the Bills. That was 99. And I look at those 2 teams, and they've got to be motivated. Now, different owners, different GMs, different personnel departments. I get it. But they know how hard it is to find a quarterback. The Bills, about 7-8 years ago, they gave a lot of money to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Didn't work out. They drafted Tyrod Taylor, or they had Tyrod Taylor.
Well, no, they drafted E.J. Manuel.
But that's what I meant. They drafted E.J. Manuel, 16th out of Florida State.
Yep.
That was a complete bust. Nowhere near hitting. Tyrod Taylor, a good stopgap. Got him to a wild card game, but he's had a transient career since then. Going to the Browns, going to the Chargers. Obviously, they have been perpetually searching for that quarterback, and so have the Browns. A litany of failed draft choices and sloppy free agent signings. So, money aside, I don't envision a situation, and I know that seems like a small thing to count. Money aside, money's everything in the NFL.
Yeah.
I get it.
Especially this year.
For sure. But, in quotes, money aside, I see Lamar being with the Ravens in 3 years. I see Josh Allen being with the Bills in 3 years, and I see Baker Mayfield being with the Browns in 3 years.
Agreed.